All right, hi everybody. My name is Adam Hain. I'm going to do a brief demo of using a tool called Hypothesis, which is used for annotating websites and PDFs. So this is the home page. You can go here to the web page and create an account. What I've done is created two accounts so I can show you some of the collaborative features. So this is my first account. You can see a list of some of the annotations that I've done. One's a PDF and these other ones are websites. I've also created another account over in Firefox, which shows a group that I made. So I'll show you how that works in a minute. But let's go back over to Chrome because Chrome is the optimized browser for the tool. And so if you go to their site, they recommend using Chrome. So the way you get started with that is go ahead and get Chrome and then create the account. And then you have to go to the Chrome extension store and download the extension for Hypothesis. And that works right in the browser. You can see that there's a little Hypothesis thing there. Doesn't work on some sites like stores and things like that, more like informational websites. So the next thing you would do is go ahead and be able to start annotating. So I chose this little article on the NGDLE from Educause. Now keep in mind, if it's the kind of site where you have to log into, you're gonna have to do that like on both sides. So I had to log into Educause to be able to see this article, but generally you won't have to. It just depends on the type of site you're looking at. If you go down here, you can see I created a highlight. There's two types of annotations that you can do. You can do a highlight and you can do a margin note. So here you can see I have a highlight. It's highlighted there on the side. This is the Hypothesis interface. And then I also have some comments that I have associated with that highlight. So in this case, I have my own account, which I normally use, and I have an account that I created to show you some of the collaborative features. So I've kind of simulated one student saying, let's take a look at this article for our research. And the other person is saying, great, let's do that. In the same way, you could have a whole class commenting on one website and or an article inside a website or a set of websites. So it's pretty versatile in that way. There's a couple other things that I can do as part of this tool. So I can create groups like I did to put these two simulated people together. I can share the page. So if I want to just share an annotated web page that I created with the class, then I can do that too and not have any comments. And they don't need to download or join the service or anything like that. I can just share it and show them. Or sort by location, so that you can sort your different annotations. I can do things like throw things away. I can reply to different comments. I can edit the comments. So there's a pretty simple set of features that are all really powerful. So that's what it looks like in the browser for web-based articles. I'll also show you what it looks like from the other user's end. So if I go over to Firefox now, you can see that I'm in the other user, and you can see that same conversation going on between the two accounts. So it's pretty simple. It's just a little kind of overlay that comes out over the page. I can hide it if I want, and I can bring it back out. Works the same in Chrome. Like I said, Chrome is the optimized browser. I didn't see a iOS or Android app, so I think using mobile devices, you'd still want to use it in the mobile browser, and I did test that on an iPad, and that seemed to work pretty good. The next thing I wanted to show you while I go over this is that you can also do the same thing with PDFs. So I have a PDF here. It already had some highlighting in it, but inside of Hypothesis, I can do the same thing. I thought I had one already made, but I can just go ahead and highlight something. I can either annotate or I can highlight. So in this case, I'll just highlight. So I've highlighted the page, and you can see that this highlight shows up here. Now, if I want to comment on that, I can go ahead and say something. So you can continue to annotate your PDFs like that if you want, and then you can have conversations with your class about the PDF that you've annotated. So that can be a really powerful tool as well, because a lot of your research articles and things like that are going to be in PDFs. Now, there is a caveat when using PDFs, and it's that since this is a browser-based tool, you're going to have to view the PDFs in the browser. I think, at least. I mean, there is a way that the developers have to do local PDFs, but it seemed like if you're trying to have a conversation, it would get a little more complicated because the different students would have to have local copies of the PDF. So I found that the easiest way to share a PDF is to get that PDF on the web. So what I did was I have a blog, and if you have any kind of website like that, you can go ahead and put the PDF in your website. So this is my blog, and I just went into WordPress and uploaded the PDF so that I would have a way to link to the PDF. That way the students can annotate the PDF in the browser. So it makes the PDF almost like a website. And I found that that was a lot easier than trying to work with the documents locally, but just so you know, you can actually work with them locally if you want. So that's the basics of what you can do and how the tool works. I wanted to take a minute to talk about some of the ways you could use this in your class. Now, obviously, having a discussion about an article is going to be the most direct way. There's a lot of possibilities that come along with being able to discuss articles. So I would direct you first to this really great article that Hypothes.is has made, 10 ways to annotate with students. So this is actually just 10 ideas about using the tool to have assignments in the class. And they're really great ideas too. There's an education section that has a bunch of different ways that you can also use this tool in your classroom. And if you go to this In Action tab, you can see that this is also used in other fields, including fact-checking and journalism, and sort of a peer review in science literature. So it's being used in a lot of different ways besides just in the classroom. Classroom is one way that I think it works really well, but I wanted to point that out as well. So a little bit more about how the tool fits into 21st century learning. I brought in a couple of things. I made this little Google Doc. So next I wanted to mention some of the ITSE standards that might be afforded through this tool. So there's a few of them that I could mention, but I wanted to focus on group 3. I think 3A, B, and C are enabled particularly well by this tool. You can see that we're going to be by using this tool, your students would be using research strategies to glean information and synthesize it. Students would be able to evaluate the accuracy by discussing it and discussing it with the teacher. So just like any other discussion board, we can talk about an article and critique it. But in this way, I find that it's a little bit easier to do than your standard threaded discussion board because you're working directly inside of the article. And students can curate information from digital resources. So your students can actually find and share and discuss articles in their own groups. So they don't need to be led completely by the instructor. Another thing I wanted to mention was in this course, we've talked about 21st century skills in a couple of different ways from some different researchers, but I thought it worked particularly well with Mishra's newer model of 21st century skills. And some of the things I would point out is this tool would be really good at enabling communication and collaboration. And this knowledge section, most of all. So digital literacy for sure, content knowledge, and cross-disciplinary knowledge as well. So just another way for students and teachers to share and synthesize information and discuss it. So it's not a new idea, it's just a new way of enabling that sort of assignment, and I think that it works really well. So if I were to offer a few other suggestions for moving forward, this is a really great organization. They are an open source organization, so the tool is free, and they're really interested in creating a really great product. So I think that's really inspiring. So that's why I wanted to share it. But a few things that I would probably mention is that I think a lot of people are going to favor having some sort of mobile app on the tablet. Secondly, the way that this overlay sort of comes over, I think there might be a way to do that in a way that doesn't cover up so much, because sometimes I know I can make this go away, but what I really want is to be able to see the article and see the annotations at the same time. So if there's a way to kind of do a split screen where the article sort of scrunches in a responsive sense, that would be really great. And I think lastly, I would probably suggest some other ways to annotate. So we have one color. We might have some other colors. I think people like to organize things in that way. And then also, speaking of organization, people might want to have a way to organize their annotations. So there is a tagging feature, but if I was going to use this for all my personal research, I would really want to have a way to organize all that research beyond tagging, like categorize it and put it in some kind of schema that made sense. So I'm sure a lot of those things are on the roadmap, but I think that the tool as it is incredibly useful, really easy to use. You can get your students signed up for it in minutes and get talking about articles really quickly. So I hope you enjoyed this demonstration, and let me know if you have any questions.